Brock here with Rock Hill Farms, and I was getting ready to put on my grapple and move some logs around, and I decided it was a good time to give an update on my third function hydraulics. Now, one of the most popular videos on this channel is talking about why I went with rear remote hydraulics, running lines up from the back of the tractor for my third function rather than installing a hydraulic diverter. And I was kind of even on the pros and cons of each way of doing it in that video. And now, a couple months later, I have a third function diverter kit on, and I can give a true comparison of each way of doing it. So, I'm going to go ahead and get the grapple put on real quick, get those logs moved, and then come back up and tell you which I think is the best way to run your third function hydraulics on a compact tractor. So at this time, there's currently not a true factory third function available for the 2038R. You can get it from your dealership with third function, but they have used one of these two methods if that's how you receive it. The first way to get third function hydraulics is by having dual rear remotes put on the back of the tractor and then running lines from the back of the tractor up to the front of the tractor. The second way is to take your curl and dump hydraulic functions and plumb those into a diverter that can be electronically switched to provide a different function. And that's accomplished just by firing solenoids that divert the hydraulic flow. So first we'll talk about the rear remote hydraulic ports. Okay, right here on the back of the tractor is my power beyond here, and then those two rear remote hydraulic ports. Currently, I have those two hydraulic ports running this Bommalite stump grinder because it uses two different functions to move side to side and up and down. But I can unplug either of those sets of functions and plug in this set of hoses here, and those run up to my grapple. So let's head on up and see how that works. So you have these two levers installed from the factory if you get your two rear remotes. This lever is for one set of remote hydraulic ports, and this lever is for the other one. The only difference between the two is that all the way forward on this one gives you a float function, which isn't really applicable to your third function on a grapple. So when I got my tractor, I told them I wanted rear remotes and that I wanted third function capability. My dealership basically combined those two features, and they gave me hard lines that run up the loader, and then what that other set of rear remote hoses that I showed you runs up under the tractor and to that spot, and that's how they connect. So if I want to use the side levers in the operator station to run my hydraulics, I just plug my grapple in from here over to here and plug those two lines in the back. So running your hydraulics that way works fine, and I was happy with it until I tried it another way. The main downside to doing that is that if you use your grapple to come down over the top of some brush or a log and come down on top of it and close, it works fine at first because you're controlling your loader right here and then coming down on it. Then you're switching your hand over here and closing the grapple. All right, so now you're closed on it, but when you go to lift at this point, there's a good chance that the ground was keeping your grapple from fully closing, or that the load will shift inside the grapple and you need to re-tighten. So in that scenario, you go down with the loader, you close, you start to lift and curl, and your load starts to fall out. So you are trying to switch back rapidly, and I find myself when I'm doing that, either doing this or doing this and using one of the joysticks with my left hand to close, curl, lift, close, curl, lift, like that. It's manageable, but it's not as good as how the controls operate with a third function diverter. So when I got all the rest of my Artillian equipment, including the grapple and the pallet forks and the stump bucket, I also got the hydraulic diverter kit that you see on here now. And it was an easy install. I have a full video showing how it installs and kind of how that system works, and I'll link to that up above and in the description. But once I got that unit on and set up and realized that if I have the same issue I described before, where I try to lift and I start to lose clamping pressure on the load, I curl, push the button, I curl, push the button, close, let go, curl, push, close, and so it's very rapid. So if you want to lift and curl at the same time, essentially, then you're just pushing your lever over and then kind of feathering that button that switches the diverter. And that makes it a lot easier to pick up an uneven load or a load that you really have to get on top of and pick up from above. So in the first video, when I talked about the different hydraulic third function options, I mentioned that it only cost me a little bit more to get the dual rear remotes, but with that setup, I could run this, and I could also run my hydraulic top link or that stump grinder or anything else I wanted hydraulics on the rear of the tractor for. But that's not actually true, because I still had to pay for these hard lines up here, and you end up at almost twice as much to get the two rear remotes and this set of hydraulics here, because it cost me $500 in hoses to get my hydraulics from the back of the tractor up to the front. That cost is for the soft lines getting from the back of the tractor up to where the loader connects, and for the hard lines to get up here. Now, if you separate the cost of the rear remotes and say, I already want rear remotes even if I don't run them up here, then you're comparing $500 to run your hydraulics from there up here, or around $700 to $800 for that Artillian Diverter Kit. And the ease of use with the Artillian kit makes it easier to operate. And I wouldn't want to be without the third function, and I wouldn't want to be without the rear remotes, because I use them both on a regular basis. But I don't think if I was doing it again, I would have these hard lines run up here. Since they're already here, it's convenient that if I was to have a problem with the diverter, or if for some reason I wanted a fourth function, or whatever the case may be, I have an extra set. But all things considered, my recommendation is to go with the diverter kit. Well, I've only got so much time before it gets dark, and I want to get started moving these logs up here with the rest, but I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. In a minute, you'll see links to a couple more of our videos come on the screen right here, and I'll see you next time.